No, exactly. That's amazing.
We're started?
Yeah.
Okay, and Paul's there?
Paul's here, he should be able to talk.
Okay,
Okay, thank you for coming, everybody. I'll just call the meeting to order. It is 9 a.m. on April the 2nd. Sorry, I'm still in Mexico time. And I'd just like to acknowledge first that we are on the traditional land of the Stahelis traditional territory. And just want to go around the table, see if there's any introduction of late items. No late items, okay.
not this time.
Approval of the agenda. Can I have somebody move to approve the agenda? Okay, moved by Susan, seconded by Sherry, thank you. And adoption of the minutes from March 5th, which is the last time we met. Can I have somebody, is there any discussion about that? Yes.
Can we just get a vote for approval of the agenda? Sorry.
I'm sorry, approval of the agenda.
Thank you.
It was
Uh,
moved by Susan.
All in favor? Thank
Aye.
you. Thank you, corporate officer. Hi, Paul, how are you?
Good.
Welcome to Harrison.
Get a picture of Paul. Put him up there.
Are you at a nice beach somewhere?
I'm in California,
That sounds nice. What part of California are you in?
Palm Desert.
Oh, nice. Good for you. Well, I hope you're having good weather.
No, not really.
Should we feel sorry for you now?
No.
Okay, item 5, adoption of the minutes for March 5th. Is there, sorry, can I have a mover to adopt the minutes? Thank you, Gary. Move that. Seconder, Sherry, thank you. Is there any discussion about the adoption of the minutes for March 5th? Okay, all in favor of adoption? So moved. And item 6, items for discussion. Sorry, corporate counselor, or do I need to have do I need to approve the items for discussion, or we just go one by one? Okay.
We can go one by one.
So at this point, I'll just say that Mayor Talon needs to leave in 20 minutes. So Mayor Talon, feel free, if the board doesn't mind, feel free if you have anything specific about any of these, because you might miss most of our discussion. But if you have any comments or concerns or things you want to add anywhere from A to G or anything else.
I don't have anything particular, so just
You're
proceed
okay?
with your agenda, and I look forward to reading the minutes and getting caught up after.
Yes,
this.
you're sure?
My apologies for having.
Because we can leapfrog if there's something particular that. So we'll go to item A, update from March 17th, 2025, regular council meeting. What happened then? Corporate counselor, do you have anything to add there? Or?
Yeah, so this is just a copy of the report that went to council at the March 17th meeting. And I have a short report, which is that council unanimously voted to support this recommendation to direct staff to investigate grant funding opportunities for increasing the urban tree canopy. So that'll be forthcoming as grants become available. That'll be Christy, our grant writing.
So she's
Grants
actively,
are?
She's our grant writing extraordinaire, yeah.
so she's actively looking now.
Yep,
Is
she
that
will
right?
be, yep, she's working, she's got this recommendation from the committee and resolution of council, so now she's got what she needs to seek those grants out.
Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful. Any questions at all?
Is it time for staff to maybe look at where we could plant trees along our boulevards? Or is it too early in the?
I like that.
I mean,
Takes it, that's
I know there's grant money that Christie's looking for.
Mhm.
I don't know if we can start actually physically having staff spend village money on finding or mapping or that type of thing.
I think it'll be part of the grant process, so it's a little bit premature
I think
because
so.
it depends on the grant itself, and projects have to match the terms of the grant. Identifying some areas, you probably already have.
Yeah, we have
in mind,
some,
right?
yeah, we can like start looking, just, I can talk to staff and say when you're out and about, like if you can think of areas that you notice that there's missing tree canopy and we could use more increase, they can kind of just look as they're doing their work. But for actually like plotting out and planning areas, I think it really depends on grants because it's gonna depend, how much funds we get, how many trees we can get with the grants, and then we can kind of do a better overall view of the village and where we can implement it.
Question, with regard to the parks planning, does some of this overlap?
Parks and Trails Master Plan?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if they looked exactly at the tree canopy.
Well, if they're not gonna build parks with no trees.
Yeah, exactly. It's always a part of like the planning process of any kind of park implementation plan, but there's not like a specific item in the Parks and Trails Master Plan. They were focusing on the tree canopy. That was more from the Urban Forestry Master Plan.
So it's probably simpler just to keep them separate entities.
Unless because they've gone through all the recommendations from the public engagement, and I think it was more deferred to those questions as the Urban Forestry Master Plan.
I like the way, Gary, you're thinking though, our goal, I think, is to plant a lot more trees. There's no better time to plant trees than now, and we may not benefit from it, but the next generation will. And if we can somehow incent residents to put more trees on their boulevards, or maybe I know that the village would have an active participation in trying to increase the number of trees, and I think that could be our legacy of this committee, is to get more trees planted.
Well, I'd love to see the entrance to this town just lined with beautiful trees, because right now it's just,
Pretty bare.
where does the resort start? Where does the resort start? I think it would be a beautiful entrance if we could get some flowering trees along those boulevards to add some cohesion and some majesty to it, then you get to the lake, right?
When you drive into Kent or Agassiz along the boulevard there, they have beautiful cherry trees and they're blooming.
Yeah, they're alternating with pink and white. Looks really nice.
Kind of a nice feature too for tourism and stuff.
Well, we've got all
And
kinds of
residents.
flowers that are really, really hardy, like magnolias, cherry trees,
Magnolias,
lilacs, and the dogwoods,
yeah.
pink and white.
Oh, yeah.
And they all open at slightly different times. So then you'd have like a constant changing
Yes.
scenery and throw some maples in there for fall for the reds, and the the mountain ash has beautiful dark green with the beautiful red berries for more fall. I mean, it would just be like a kaleidoscope of trees that would change every season.
You're hired.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a good point. I'm sensing there's a willingness of this committee to maybe us or having village personnel identify not just a few, but many areas of where we could plant trees. Is this something we want to move to do to?
Maybe we could investigate it on our own and then make recommendations back to staff to investigate at a later time.
I think at this point, if I can jump in, it's something that can be kind of incorporated into the day-to-day for now, and it's really gonna depend, like Jay said, on the grant. And how specific the terms of the grant are.
And I know the terms of the grant are really specific, but can we maybe do a little proactive work and reach out to a couple of greenhouses to see how much these things cost, just for curiosity? Because how do you apply for a grant for trees if we don't know how much trees cost?
That would be part of the grant, yeah,
That would be
part of the grant application.
So we could, think, focus on local, like we've got,
Oh,
we've
yeah.
got Brian Minter who's famous.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Worldwide. Like, why we're not picking his brain, I don't know. Why reinvent the wheel, but local, just to get an idea. Because we don't know how much to ask for, we don't know how much we need.
Okay, I'm fine to just, I mean, I like the idea of maybe us as a
Okay,
committee
can I
to do
make a
walk
motion
and
then? Is that-
look for locations. And yeah, sure, if you have a motion in mind, yeah.
Can we do that? Motion to ask council to ask staff to check into the general pricing of trees just a little ahead of time so we can make sure we get an appropriately sized grant? That we apply for the right grants?
So,
I'm trying to word this the right
so is
way.
it, maybe what you're saying is it's helpful for Christie to write a grant if we have specific areas and trees that we want done? Would it help her? Go, yeah.
Thank you. I think identifying the areas and identifying how much things cost are part of the grant application process already, and she has that direction from council from the last meeting. But I do kind of like the idea of the committee. I know you guys did a walk on Spirit Trail, and I think if you identify areas, then definitely bring those forward for Jace to be aware of. The other thing is I kind of see some overlap here with Communities in Bloom a little bit. I know Susan's on that one too, but that's a lot about enhancing green space and beautifying and planting trees. So there might be an opportunity for the two committees to kind of work hand in hand a little bit, and that's a big project. Like maybe not this year for the Communities in Bloom, but as that committee gets going, I could see that becoming like a joint venture between.
Yeah,
us.
got your budget reinstated in time, or were you stood down too?
Well, ours is it just got started this year, so, but
So
it's a very small, we're a new committee, we're sort of just getting up and running, so I definitely see that there's overlap that's gonna happen, and that was sort of my thoughts with sort of asking if I could be on both committees, because I thought they kind of intermix and we can work together with it. But for this year, that wouldn't be sort of available to us to start planting tree. Well, no, we're just in the process of figuring out a couple projects of getting a direction for the Communities in Bloom, because we were a really active committee years ago and then kind of disappeared. So we're just trying to get our legs back on the ground, so to speak. But it definitely, like I could see next year that being something, or later, maybe in the fall, start planning for that.
Could be a goal of this committee, maybe to do some walks in the next month or so.
I think that's a great idea.
Do we have any
And,
blank maps that we could like mark things on?
Could
Make it
you-
a lot
could you get us
easier
some
for
maps?
you?
Okay,
Just
If
a
you could get a
little
map.
blank map, so
Yeah,
you
we
can
walk around and go,
walk
okay, this
around,
area,
so this
take a
might be nice.
snapshot.
and then we can just go, there you go.
let's do it.
Yeah, it's great to get all the input and just to identify areas, because then when grants come available and we apply, it's good to have some kind of backing.
Yeah, and we can't do this year, but maybe next year.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think tree planting is fall, isn't it?
Typically, yeah.
So
Yeah,
maybe it's a goal of, in the next couple of months, let's go for a walk, whatever was
And then by
available.
that time, maybe.
We walk every day, might as well do it
Be
to
somewhat like, we can talk about that at the meeting.
Yeah. Maybe we should schedule a joint.
So,
When
or
you guys get on
could
your
all
feet.
join too.
Got a reminder.
Because I see no.
Yeah.
I was thinking of.
Well, last year I was thinking that we should just be one big town committee, but
But the Communities in Bloom is a little bit different because it's a baskets and stuff.
We'll have to go to council and seek clarification if a blooming tree is.
It's
Or blooming trees are committee in bloom, where are the flowers?
Where is it?
If the flowers are more than 6 feet off the ground.
flowers aren't there all year long. It only belongs to one committee in the spring and it belongs to the other committee in the
Yeah.
fall.
Mr. Chair, through to staff, I'm guessing if the village is gonna secure 10 or 20 or 50 trees, we're gonna have a different relationship with a greenhouse or whoever we're purchasing from than if we're going to buy. Yeah, so we're gonna,
That's what I was wondering.
so even if,
Yes.
even if we went out individually and got a sense, there's a good chance the village's
Can negotiate.
purchasing will be.
Yeah, and I know
Put
our,
up a sign to advertise your greenhouse. Yes, Chief. That's how business works. Free advertising.
So Sherry, you had a motion.
I can't even
was it
remember
seconded?
what
Are
it
you
was.
Satisfied that?
Yeah, no, it's
So
just
let's
more
let's make
questions.
it a endeavor in the next couple of weeks to all go for a walk together.
So should we schedule that now?
Let's, maybe at the end, because it just,
Okay.
it's gotta get going.
Yeah, can we, if we had a map that identified the boulevards, the target boulevards, so we don't wander aimlessly through the village, well, that could be nice, but at least know where there are village boulevards that might be open to
Yeah.
Beautification.
That-
beautification, having more trees.
And canopy.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm gonna move on from A, if everybody's okay with that. Any other questions or
Do we have
concerns
to
about
vote on
A?
that motion or anything?
We decided we were satisfied for the moment, because we had all kinds of information. that wasn't
Okay, so
available.
for the walkabout, we don't need.
Let's talk at the end of this,
Okay.
Okay.
figure out
Very
some
good.
dates.
That means that the mayor's not invited.
No, you're welcome.
Put them all in your front yard, that's what we're gonna do.
That'll be on his bike.
Who's buying us lunch?
Yeah, chocolate.
Like your mayor buys lunch, hat hairs and hamburgers.
Yeah.
I worded that carefully, Gary. I didn't want to misunderstood.
Okay, item B, report of the corporate officer dated the 2nd of April regarding the council procedural bylaw, which we updated. And Amanda, do you want to carry on from here?
Sure, yeah, thank you. So there's a report there on page 7 of your agenda packages. I can definitely send everyone a copy of the new bylaw for some light 20-page reading. But these are kind of the need to know crash course there in the background that relate directly to committees. So there's a couple new changes. I won't go through them all, but if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. So this is a process that I'm going through with all of the committees, and it's just to bring the terms of reference into compliance with the new bylaw. So I've cited on page 8, there's a list there of the changes that I've made. So there's been no changes to the purpose or the responsibilities section. Those are all still the same. It was really just kind of clerical and changing that the chair is going to be appointed, I believe, by council. So yeah, if there's any questions, happy to answer that. And of course, any amendments to the terms of reference. And then I'd like to ideally get a recommendation from this committee to endorse the terms of reference so that they can be approved by council or
I
considered by
just have
council.
one
Through
question.
discussion.
Is it okay with the terms of reference, like where it says about the meetings on number 4, the first Wednesday, but like this month, we're gonna meet, the next one's on the 28th, right? It's on the Monday, like that's okay, like we're not, are we specifically bound to that, or is that just?
So that's a great question if I.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so 4C, I realize I need to change this, but it says notwithstanding section 3A,
Okay.
that should say 4A. So my
Okay.
apologies, that should say 4A. The chair may call a meeting at any time. So that 4A is kind of there to give us a bit of a framework, and then if
Yeah.
there's a time that works better or whatever the case may be.
And I like the way that this is read. I think Gary brought it up at the last meeting. We don't want to necessarily just be told by council what to think about. We can submit our own work plans and our own ideas. So we're not bound by council as to what we talk about here. We have free hand for the most part. Everybody satisfied with that?
Amanda will let us know when we get out of line.
Not your purview. No, absolutely not.
I'll get you
No,
a big
I'll-
stick.
But through introduction of late items, you guys as individuals can always bring something up. As long as the group approves, then it's all good. Okay?
Or by email in advance of the meeting as
Yeah.
well. Well, we can pop it on there and then the agenda gets run through the chair before the meeting. So if everyone is happy with it, then I would just ask for that the committee endorse it, but just with that amendment to section 4C so that it references
Sure.
the proper 4A.
Okay, is there any other comment about item B? Before we endorse, I'm gonna ask, do I need a seconder to endorse this? Or sorry, can someone move to endorse number B? And is there a seconder for this?
Seconded.
Is there any discussion? Any concerns?
So with this
Okay.
endorsement, it goes to the next council meeting and it'll be formally adopted by council, and that'll be the terms of reference for this committee, unless we want to change it.
It's very wide ranging, just like we had with Mayor Wood. It's anything to do with land, water. Okay, all in favor of this endorsement? Thank you.
Aye.
Passed unanimously.
Sorry, I thought I heard Paul.
Oh, Paul, you
I
okay?
said aye.
Aye.
Hi, Paul. We haven't forgotten about you. Just pipe
No
up whenever
problem.
you want, okay? Paul, we're on item C now, the urban forest
Yeah.
master plan. And we've already discussed some of it. Is there,
Did you?
are you
Got through the
ready?
exciting part of the meeting.
Are you ready?
Good work. Terms of reference.
See you, bud.
Talk to you later.
Yeah, see ya. Okay, item C, urban forest master plan. Now, it's a big document. We've been struggling with it, not struggling, but I think we've got a little bit about what we can an actionable task with regards to tree planting, and I think that's great. This is what the community wants to see, it's what I want to see. I think that when I was coming here today, thinking about the legacy of this committee and of this council and of this generation of people involved in the environment, what would be our legacy? And that is, if we could improve the tree canopy, I think that'd be a great idea, But is there anything else about the urban forest master plan that's come up that you want to discuss, Sherry?
Quick question.
Yes.
We kind of clarified what belongs to us with regard to mandates and what doesn't. Meaning that what we thought was doesn't, but I have a question about the Memorial Trail portion.
Memorial Trail, can
Yeah.
you tell me exactly where that is?
It is Hadway and McCombs.
Okay,
So it's on this side of the second bridge that needs to be
Yeah.
replaced.
yeah,
But it's very heavily used by older folk and everybody else because it's very level and not very big.
okay,
But it needs some tidying and there's a small kind of creek that people have made their own makeshift kind of thing to get over.
okay.
But it would be a little bit dangerous if somebody could maybe put a little proper bridge in there and maybe if we could get that cleaned out a bit, because there's a lot of people are dragging their yard waste into there.
Okay.
I think that is in our purview. It might be, it might not, if we could check.
Sherry, where is this? Remember,
I believe that's
You know where that
Yeah.
big, you know where that big transformer was?
was this where the child was killed a generation ago? There's a little sign in there and there's a little side trail.
It's actually, there's a bunch of animal burials in there,
Yeah.
but it's around there, yeah.
I didn't know it was called Memorial Trail.
Yeah, it's there's signage and everything, so.
Yeah, I've seen this, I just.
Yeah, But all the older folks with the small dogs use that because the bigger park is very, as you've been in there, it's can be a little hazardous
Yeah.
if you're a little bit up there in the years and for a little dog in there, but the older folks with all the little dogs use the Memorial Trail as their
It's
walking.
this one.
route.
Does it
This
cross?
one here.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
It's tiny, yeah,
Oh,
it's like, yeah, it's just
that's
tiny.
nice. So it doesn't really
This-
cross the creek, you mentioned it.
There's a,
crosses,
there's a part of a creek there,
Like little.
a water
wet spot.
feature that people have put crates and stuff on,
Okay.
which is dangerous.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit too big when it's raining to jump. So people just thought, for accessibility and for the seniors and it's nice to have away from where all the big dogs are walked.
So could we find out
So
who?
Yeah.
that
That's
is
our purview.
FBRD. That's,
Okay.
that's
It is
part of.
FBRD.
the-
They're considering,
So that is completely managed by FBRD.
okay.
So we could make.
Can we ask
an
you guys to ask them to take a look at it?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would like you to ask them to ask
Okay.
them to take a look
Yeah.
at it.
That can just be dealt with.
Okay.
The resolution.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
sure
more of just a public concern than.
It is a
anything else.
public
Yeah.
concern.
They may say it's not a sanctioned trail, in which case we can.
There's
also-
signage
It's on
on
there,
there,
it's on
there's
their map.
signage up and there's on their
Yeah.
map. Their maps are wrong, by the way.
Oh,
Their maps are drastically wrong with regard to the trails back there.
there are a lot of trails that
People get-
are like offshoots of the
And
other
there's
trails.
unmanned trails that are
Yeah.
attached but that particular map is wrong and we're forever finding people right in the middle of the Spirit Trail lost because the signs are screwy.
Hmm.
And they're going, which way do I go? Which
Yes.
way do I go? Cause they're just placed at the wrong place, but
It's wet,
That-
it's
that's-
wet back there.
that's fun.
Yeah, I found a couple, they had missed the little Spirit Trail and they were back on they had crossed the bridge and they were.
Well, it technically it's a figure eight, but it shows as a loop, but it's the way it's actually used as a figure eight and the signs are right in the middle of the figure eight, pointing the wrong ways.
Yeah.
And people are going, how do I find the mask circle? How do I find? Because there's just not appropriate signage in there and people
Interesting.
are
Okay.
always getting confused and turned around just in that spot, but.
Amanda, can we leave that with you then?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
While you're bugging the FDRD,
Yeah.
just to improve it, it's just a small thing. They did put up the no overnight parking signs at the Spirit Trail parking lot finally.
No overnight. Yeah, there's been a lot of campers there, right? This
A
spring.
lot.
Yeah, I noticed that.
A lot.
Okay, that's item C, urban forest master plan. Can we move on from that? Is any other questions at all?
No, I'm good.
Okay, I'm gonna move on to item D. Is that okay, everybody? So Earth Day in May. Corporate officer, do you have an update from Christie as to who is coming? I see that it's listed. Is there any update with that at all?
No update. I asked her yesterday. Stahelis is going to try and make it. They do have like a large community soccer
Yeah.
tournament, I believe, that day, unfortunately.
Okay,
But the other ones, I don't believe we've heard a response from any of them. Some of them are quite
There's
large
one that I-
organizations.
There's one that I'd like to add. In fact, the
Sure.
Director lives here, and that's the Sturgeon Society. They were at the sports show at Tradex a couple weeks ago. And I got her card. I didn't bring it today. Sorry.
If,
But
do you
they
have it
said
still?
they'd come. I'll try to find it.
Okay.
I think her name is Stacy. She lives in Harrison apparently.
Okay, cool.
So it's the Sturgeon, Fraser River Sturgeon Society, I think it's
Okay.
called. I think they'd be cool out here.
Yeah.
Is there any other, do you guys have any other ideas? What do you have, Glenn?
I had sent out an email about the tulip people, because the tulip. Farms? Yeah, that moved to Harrison, they used to be out on the freeway for 100 years, and then just last year they opened. And I was wondering if anybody invited them, because we could use tulips in our beautification project.
Yeah, so if I could jump in, Councillor
Please,
Sherman. Christy has asked for committee feedback on inviting businesses. So right now it's, all of these are usually, I mean, GFL is our collection company for waste collection, but
Yeah.
everyone else is either a not-for-profit or,
Society?
yeah, like a society. So I guess, I think Christy's trying to get a sense of kind of where the line is in terms of inviting people and local nurseries or businesses of that variety. So I think just committee feedback on that would be helpful.
Well, I think the community's made up of both, so it's important to include everybody. As long as it's maybe,
Well,
well, you wouldn't invite the cement factory to the Earth Day thing, but that it's not for them to sell product. It's just for them to speak to whatever information or knowledge, if they wish to, about good horticultural practices. That's why I think
Yeah,
like
I
a
have no problem with
greenhouse
any
would
businesses
be,
that,
you know,
that
greenhouse
have any
business
kind
be
of
good
affiliation
for-
with that, right? With any kind of, you know,
I'd like to see
environmentally friendly
kind of thing.
things, so I have no problem with any businesses,
And
like
maybe-
even little, if there were little
Yeah.
shops in the community that have some environmentally friendly stuff, like
Well,
I
the
have
more
no
attendance, the
problem
more
with
you
it.
draw you get, the more,
Yep.
and you'll fine tune who gets action and who doesn't, but.
So is
So
there
I-
anyone beyond the tulip?
I'm hearing we're all.
I guess I think she needs some, like,
Yeah, do you have any other examples?
yeah.
The Tulip
What,
Society?
next year, I would like, because this year you won't have time.
Yeah.
It would be nice to have somebody do a demonstration on how to properly prune your own trees. Because people just don't know. If we could look into that, if there was somebody
that'd be
that
great.
would come and just do it like a little, you know how they have the slicer dicer guy at the P&E? Well, we need a slicer dicer. And this is how you properly prune your trees safely.
So
For,
why
Just
don't-
maybe
for
something
structure
that-
and growth.
why don't we invite our consultant, the guy who does our tree?
Because last weekend they just had a bunch of
Yeah, well, we did-
workshops.
yeah, we
They-
did.
they are instructors,
Prune
Yeah.
plant.
They'd like to come.
So
They do
the
business in our
Earthfire
community.
Society does workshops
See,
on
like-
that.
Yeah, so
that's actually a good
Earthwise, they do a lot of workshops and they're really passionate about like food security and stuff like that. So they were on the list as just a kind of a community contact. I believe they're not for profit as well.
Maybe next year they'd be willing to put on some demonstrations.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of these kinds of events is they can evolve as
Yeah.
they get a little bit more, once you've done it one time, then it becomes
What
a
worked,
lot
what didn't
easier.
work.
Yeah,
what
exactly,
didn't
yeah.
work, what didn't work at all, let's not do that again.
Yeah.
Like putting me in public, never.
So maybe they could invite the Tulip Society.
Sure.
Whoever they are, the Fraser River Sturgeon Society.
I think it's
And
Onos
the,
Farms.
and Amanda, what about the arborist that we do business with? Maybe he or she would like to come and spend a few hours with our community.
Okay, I got 3 new invitees.
And they might all say no.
Yeah.
Is there anybody
Worth a
else?
try.
Is there
It's
anybody
worth a
else?
try.
Anybody in Kent? That we invite? Eco Dairy or something like
Creekside.
Creekside
Maybe, I don't know.
Dairy.
that. Creekside Dairy, see if they want.
They
to.
have the best.
Mhm.
Have you been there?
I haven't, no.
Oh, it's on.
It's so fun to fill up the milk
Isn't it the best though?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
What
So
about
it's an
the-
organic dairy farm over.
And
What about
cheese.
the egg place? It's just beef.
Is it
It's on
tenders?
this, what's that? It's, what's it called, the egg hut or something? It's right on the,
I
as
know,
you're going
on
to
McCallum,
Creekside.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, to Creekside or
Well,
to the
no,
cheese
where
farm?
the cheese is.
That's
before you get
Cedar
to-
Isle Farms on Seabird Island that does,
No, I'm talking about.
The Egg
on-
Shack.
Yeah, there's a
And
little,
not on the way. to
and
the
they're
other house.
organic,
Hens.
they're organic.
that's Happy Hens.
Happy Hands,
Hmm.
yes,
Happy ends.
Happy Hands, it's all organic.
Everywhere you go now, you
Big
see
massive
eggs
eggs.
for sale. Creekside does eggs too.
That's true.
What about the fishing group then? The local fishing group? Would they want to do something?
Which one's that?
Like the BC Sports Fishing?
I think they're on the list. Oh, no, not sports fishing, that's, I
They're
mentioned
all
BC
constant.
Wildlife Federation.
Yeah, their business has changed. Like a lot of their revenue that they get is with the ministry to do surveys, wildlife surveys and fish surveys and all that sort of thing.
But all of these people leave an opportunity open to collaborate in the future too.
BC Hydro might have something
BC
that they
Hydro.
can put together with, right? Because they're always doing environmentally friendly ways to save energy and do things, so that might be an opportunity.
And what about, and the gas Fortis as well, maybe Fortis and.
They actually have grants that we can apply for.
Yeah, I think if we, maybe that's, you guys okay with Fortis and with BC Hydro?
If you don't ask, the answer
If you
is
don't ask,
no.
yeah, maybe this will help us gain a relationship with them. And
But at least they know we're trying
You
to
know?
do something,
Yeah,
so maybe
for
next
sure.
year, if somebody says no, they might say yes.
Right, but just start build.
I have worked with BC Hydro on environmental and done stream mapping and stuff, so they do have an environmental part to BC Hydro.
Yeah,
Excellent.
I think they're worth an invite, for sure. What about, GFL's coming, right?
I think.
What about our food, like our green bins? Where did they go? Are they with GFL also?
Yeah.
See, I'm in a strata, so I'm different. Okay. Yeah, if there's any other ideas, you guys, we have
It
a
seems
month.
like we're getting a
So-
good turnout already.
Yeah.
I think so.
It's a start.
Just as like kind of an aside, one thing we've been looking at, very like preliminary, just like staff have kind of thrown this idea around, is looking at potentially supporting a farmer's market out here. So this is kind of venturing into that territory a little bit. And again, we would need funding. It's very early days, but this is a little bit of like a crossover event, I think, kind of between a
Yeah.
farmer's market and like once you start inviting.
But you're making connections.
Yeah, I think so. But just a thought that maybe in the future it might kind of shift a little bit. But yeah, I will update Christy with these invitees and we'll. go
Thank
from
you.
there.
That's
Yeah,
great.
Yeah.
What about the folks that are doing the organic garden down here by your place?
Community garden?
The community garden. You should invite them. They're always
Is
looking for
that an official
volunteers.
group?
I
They are now,
I
yeah.
walked by last
Well,
week
definitely we should.
and they said, we're all 80 years old and above. We need more volunteers. So maybe they'd like to have a booth. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we could get more volunteers out of it.
Okay, can we move, anything else?
So I just have, if we're talking about Earth Day.
Yeah.
If, so what are we doing? What is our
Good point.
display? What are-
Yeah, because we're gonna have a booth.
We have to man that booth.
And if I recall, last year we had a booth also, and Christy came up with a beautiful placard. Maybe she still has it.
I think I'll double check with Haley. I'm sure they're preparing something for the booth, but yeah, it'd be great to kind of have the committee
And I can
schmooze, walk around and
Yeah.
talk to people and get people excited about it, right?
Are you guys all available on that third? This
I am.
Saturday? Yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna be.
Yep.
I'll do it
We
one time.
should have,
Giveaways or something like that, so I
Well,
don't
it would be
know.
nice,
some-
but we
some
don't have any
seedlings.
money. I
That's-
thought
Oh,
seedlings
hey,
would be. approved.
Seedlings, why don't we give out seedlings as
We
a,
don't have seedlings and we have no money for seedlings, so we have to.
Oh, yeah,
See
we
if
have
we
no
can get
money.
some
wouldn't that be
seedlings.
great if we could get some seedlings?
Paul's.
Paul,
Paul's gotta see that.
go ahead.
Oh, fair enough, there's a hand.
we should have copies of the urban forest master plan there
It's
to talk to
huge.
people.
Well, just for people to look through, you mean,
Yeah.
like on the table? Yeah.
in the
Okay.
binder.
I think
in
there is some
plastic.
public displays already.
Could we get a
Not to the
QR,
UFS.
a QR code maybe, and then people could download it? If
Yeah.
they need to. Paper, save
Put
paper.
one there on the table for people to
Yeah.
flip through and I hate QR codes, but I do understand the practicality.
Yeah. So now they're getting dangerous.
And-
because people-
Well, you don't know what it
And-
says.
People are faking and they put them over top
Yeah,
of stuff.
I know.
Which Next thing you get some virus on your
Yeah.
computer.
I like the seedlings idea. I wonder if we could,
That would be.
we could partner with a nursery.
Well, I
some
said seedlings last time,
Seedlings, yeah.
Little
Yeah.
baby seedlings, yes, I did.
Plant a
Seedlings,
maple
seedlings.
for future generations.
I know,
I didn't
because the mayor sat in my chair.
Sure.
My chair.
Should we see if we can get some seedlings donated?
Sure, yeah.
Can
Can we find out if
Well,
we
there's,
I love
when's
that
the
idea.
next council meeting? Can that be brought up to get a little money to do a giveaway?
I think Amanda's
That
got,
would be something.
Amanda's got money.
Can we make a motion to ask council?
Yeah, absolutely, the committee, but we need probably a dollar figure, to ask for. So if you have an idea in mind of how much budget you would be asking for, definitely we can ask.
Yeah, like, it's one of those things where, let's say we have 200 seedlings available. First 200 gets a seedling. First 200 participants at our event get a seedling.
So like $500 or something?
We
Would
don't
that
know.
be-
Oh,
That
yeah,
goes
no
back
clue.
to, we don't know how much a seedling costs.
Maybe they would donate it. Maybe,
Well, if we,
Let's take that
ask,
on.
if we could get
That would be.
if we could get, maybe if we had a nursery come with seedlings and then.
It's a little, we're a little late in the game here. for
Mhm.
that.
we've done that.
But if
Maybe
we could
it's-
ask for just some small budgets, up to like,
Up to $500 or
Yeah.
something like that. Do we have a budget for this event?
There was no budget associated with it. I believe Christy has some budget for community events already. I can ask, she's at the C2C meeting unfortunately.
Yeah.
I can go double check with Scott quickly, if there's some budget for community events. I'm fairly certain that there is.
And then does anybody know any nurseries that you could contact?
I don't know
I
anybody
don't know anybody
personally.
either. I don't even know who they are around town.
Who was that? You mentioned
I'll look into it.
Gardner,
Winter Garden.
Winters or?
Brian Minter,
oh no, so
It's
there's
still
a few
around?
different.
yeah. There's a couple of local greenhouses. Brian Minter's happens to be one. Because, he's just famous, because we used to have the Minter Gardens, but there's a couple of other smaller ones, so.
Now, what kind of?
Is it more
seeding-
efficient if Christie just phones a couple of greenhouses and gets a price?
Yeah,
Can we just ask that maybe Christie phone a couple of, to see if it's even
Sure.
doable?
Scott's looking into
Because if they're
the-
$10 a seedling, that's too much. If they're $1 a seedling, then that's.
Maybe they want to donate some though.
They may wish
Yeah.
Yeah,
to.
they might want,
And we don't want cedars because they burn.
no, it would have to be some
Yeah.
kind of flowery.
Yeah,
Deciduous.
Yeah.
Little babies.
Maple. or something.
Some kind of flowering
Just a
shrub
little-
or something, like something that's
little
easy that people can
shrubbies.
plant.
Nice little cherry tree or something, flowery.
Yeah, like a
tree.
tree. Yeah, cool.
Ornamental, I would think, ornamental.
Smart flowers.
And then you requested committee feedback on inviting us. Do you have enough?
yep, I
memo?
think so.
Are you happy with what we've done?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. I will get back to you about the budget for the committee.
Okay, thank you.
They need to make it.
Where do we get our trees? Where do we buy trees?
Our parks technician usually orders them, and I'm not sure, it's one of the nurseries in Chilliwack it's from, I'm not sure which one though, they purchased from.
Matt would know.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you ask him? if-
Well, source out
Yes.
your contact.
We're trying to give away, let's say, 100 seedlings for our event. Is there,
Yeah,
is
let's pick
there
a
a
number,
nursery
100
that we
is-
deal with that maybe would donate 100 seedlings as an example?
Yeah, I
Or
can,
It might be
Some
50, it might be
really-
25.
I can ask him to reach out.
And
and
just
see if
say,
there's-
like deciduous seedlings, not, you don't want
Coniferous?
mini conifers, because they burn.
There is some budget for community events. I don't know what Christie has allocated to it, but there should be some wiggle room. So
Okay.
I will ask her to look into contacting the nursery for maybe a little donation.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I think- I think
Or if you're
just,
buying in bulk, you
yeah.
get them like at a
Yeah.
regular street.
Yeah, buy
Maybe a
one, get
little
one free.
advertising as well.
Yeah.
We can have
Yeah,
a
we'll
little.
put their advertising up. So what is 100 seedlings reasonable?
It really depends on how much it is,
Once they're
so
gone, yeah.
we'll try it, well, maybe, well,
Maybe
I'll
they'll
see how
donate.
much Christie has for a budget for that, and we'll try to maximize that.
Okay.
Depending on.
And when they're gone, they're gone, they're
They're
gone.
gone, they're gone, yeah,
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
same thing.
And I'll reach
yeah.
out first for, see if there's any donations.
Yeah, if you could, that'd be great.
Perfect.
Just even just little pots with a tree. I think it's more symbolic than anything, but I think it's great. Okay, question about Earth Day, May. Do we have desks and tents? Like in terms of logistics, do we have all that kind of stuff?
There are
Green.
tables,
We'll have tables set up for the
there's no
vendors?
tents, so if it's raining, it'll have to go into the hall.
We're going to the hall.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
do
so
that.
let's hope for good
There's a
weather.
plan B, there's a
Yeah.
plan B.
but do you need help that morning, volunteers to bring tables down there?
I don't think so, I think Christie's got it under control, normally we have Public Works, help us out with that kind of stuff.
WCB.
Well, you've got us too, right? So,
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, I will definitely let Christy know that there's
this is a Saturday, tell us.
probably actually setting up the booth itself, like if we have seedlings and we need people to actually, cart them
Okay.
out of a truck and put them in or whatever the case may be. But once there's some more details there, I'm sure.
Okay, so we're meeting on the 28th.
Yes,
So
we can finalize.
let's
that, yeah.
finalize the work that's
Isn't that
required
election
by
day?
this committee, because I think there's gonna be some.
No, is it? I think it's the
Yeah.
20. I thought it was the one. before.
28th.
Amanda, am I not going to Whistler on the 28th? Isn't that the,
It's the
Isn't
29th.
so I'm back on the 3rd.
You're back on the 2nd.
Good.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm. Um, Election day. Yeah, I think you're right, it is the 28th.
The 28th, so you might wanna.
Oh, it's-
Well, it's just a meeting, committee meeting.
Oh, I'm,
So you guys don't need to be there?
No, we're not, the federal elections run by Elections Canada.
Yeah, you guys.
Yeah, so don't worry
I'm
about that.
working in
Okay.
Harrison for, oh no, what is that? Yeah, that's election day?
Yeah,
I'll be,
are you working
We
the
might
federal
need to
Yeah,
election?
I'm
let's
working
let's
Oh,
back that up a couple days then. You
okay,
mean, are you talking about our next meeting, Gary? Your election official?
yeah.
Good for you.
I believe I would really like for Christy to be at the meeting, and I believe it was. Oh, okay, we could do the 25th if people are available that day, it looks like Christy should be here. We're kind of talking about this ahead of time, but that's okay. Friday.
Yeah, we'll move up to,
10th,
we'll move to item G since we're here now. Might as
Sure.
well.
Yeah, how does that look for everybody? Friday, April 25th,
Friday,
What time?
I think it's a good idea,
for you?
because we shouldn't mess with election day. I don't think.
Are we gonna do a morning meeting?
Yeah.
That day?
Sure, that's fine. Yeah, we'll see if Johnny can do it.
Yeah, or even attend by Zoom if you can.
Okay.
Make the time. I will, so 9 is good?
Yep.
Everybody? Good for you?
Yeah.
Good for you? Send an update right now.
Okay, well, that's good for item G.
Okay.
Anything else about Earth Day before I move on? You good, Susan? Sure.
Yeah, I'm good, yeah.
Okay, item E, Bear Smart. So Bear Smart's something that came up last fall and it's the final reading of the solid waste bylaw is going to be on Monday. I would expect it passes as it was read last council meeting, which means that because of Bear Smart, they've changed the dates, sort of the times, then when you're to put your garbage out from the evening before to the morning of, okay? And I think from my point of view, this is a positive thing, but we put this on as an item for discussion today to see what you guys think and to see if there's anything that we should do to support council and support staff in the implementation of this. Now, the solid waste management plan times, and by the way, there's a bit of miscommunication in the community. There never really was a time when to put your garbage out. You could put it out on a Monday for a Thursday pickup before. There was no time. Am I right on that?
It goes in the
There's-
mailboxes, it said time and it said the day of. When we first
That
started
it wasn't
here.
part of the bylaw. That might have been a
Oh.
recommendation, wasn't part of the
But
bylaw.
it was
The
part of
bylaw is very
GFL's.
clear now.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, maybe it was GFL.
Yeah.
The bylaw is very clear now, no putting garbage out the night.
No,
Okay.
I don't know
And we-
anybody who does that.
No, there's quite a few.
Is there
Oh,
really?
yeah.
Wow.
I see.
I think there's gonna be some backlash. Well, only for a short time, I think. But, so we just put this item on here for us to discuss today because the solid waste management plan is just one part of Bear Smart. It's not just bears, it's possums and rats and raccoons and all that kind of stuff, right? So is there any comment that this committee would have? Anything to guide staff or council as to how to implement this or
This-
communicate this?
You're gonna put out a mailer in the tax notice, is that where it's going? Or
The bears,
For the
the
bears.
garbage change, to
So
don't put it
the-
out the night before.
or how is that, how are people gonna be?
So once it's adopted, it'll probably be like social media, website, notice boards, push out. Definitely the tax notice time is a good time where we capitalize on the postage of sending out those letters, and we've been working over the last year to start doing more like newsletters, so we can definitely put that in there. We put in seasonal messaging, so normally I think we have to plan like water safety. We can definitely insert some Bear Smart messaging in there. We share a lot of Bear Smart messaging on our Facebook page. So yeah, probably tax and or utility time, we'll implement something in there for the newsletter.
When is that? That's the end of this month, right?
No, that's June.
Can we also make suggestions on the mail out that if people for some reason can't put their garbage out at the appropriate time, they either ask a neighbor or somebody to help them do that, because a lot of people go away and they put out the can, and this is what I hate, people put out their cans and then they're out there for days, and that just signals that you're not home. And that's a big no-no, because then it's showing that you're not home, somebody's gonna break into your house. And, but if for some reason you just can't get up, you have some type of injury or whatever it is, and you need help, I would suggest that or the village suggests that you ask a neighbor who can maybe get up and help them with that, just so that, we are being very smart.
Or do we set up a volunteer kind of thing and say, hey, call?
So.
Well, like the snow angels.
Well, that's what
Yeah,
garbage
garbage
angels.
Garbage angels.
Walk is also the same type of thing where you have people sign up, and so you know who your group is. I mean, it should all be involved.
Sorry, I think it's kind of a
I
Jace
think
has
it's a
to go,
non-issue, but if they don't
If we
put
could
it
quickly
on
touch
a
on the
piece
dike
of
upgrade
paper.
and then
Yes.
go back to
Yeah,
this.
I got
just
like
so that-
maybe like 10 or 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah,
You
sorry
guys-
about
We're
that.
gonna pivot quickly, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We're gonna come back to Bear Smart, but Jace has to leave in 5 minutes. He wants to give us an update on the dike. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So Jace, the floor is yours.
Yeah, not sure where to start on this one, but, so yeah, the dike project, has been moving forward with our consultants, and we've done about 3 open houses, I believe it's been, and, multiple presentations to council. But yeah, I can try and answer some questions. A lot of them are quite technical that the engineer has, answers for. We do have all the information on our Get Into Harrison page, so there's a lot of information out there. But yeah, I'm happy to see it come through the environmental committee. I think it'd be great to get committee's input on the project because, as we know, there's a lot of ecosystem stability that's involved with the dike, and then also a lot of negative impacts if a flood did happen to the environment. So yeah, I can try and answer the questions that I can, and if not, I can also refer some to our engineer because we're putting together a list of questions and answers for the next council update.
How do you guys feel about all this? I've been through all this, so the floor is yours. You guys tell us
All I know
some
is
of the
that
concerns.
the people I talk to, there isn't many that support this dike. It's a real uphill push.
And because it's ugly and it ruins the money draw.
And all I
For a
see,
maybe, when we know for sure we flood from Sumas.
all I see it doing is catching the sand and maybe keeping it off the main esplanade in the spring, where the winds are blowing hard. And I think that's about all it's gonna do is just catch sand. It's gonna be a sand catch. And it'll help you guys not have to clean up as much sand off of Esplanade. That's all I see this thing doing. You know, I mean, is it a good thing? I don't know.
What if as part of this?
I think there's better places that money could be spent.
But the grant is
That's my
for this
Yeah.
project.
Question,
Right.
have you accessed any of the grant funds?
Yes, we have.
So now we can't give it back. We
Uh,
cannot give it back once
We
it's
would have
You
spent.
have
some
to-
remainder back.
Probably the remainder back.
But it is
I don't know what the
possible to
remainder-
give it back.
Yeah, so some of it's already been spent on design.
Yeah.
And the engineering fees, so, and consulting fees, right? Yeah, so, but whatever portion is not used to actually do the project, if the project for some reason does not proceed, we can give it, we would have to give it back, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
I know.
Yeah, we can't reallocate.
reallocate.
I don't get a sense that anybody I've spoken to in the community is for it. They think it's an insane idea. And that it'll just, it takes away the draw. It doesn't make any sense. And we'll be listening to more of that pounding for how many years? Because they're using the same material. And nobody can see any sense in it at all. At all, for a maybe once in every given, you know, you can access all kinds of data and whatever, but the last flood came from Sumas, which is that away. And
That's where if anything,
we should be
putting
looking
a
at,
dike
if you
across.
could
the-
redo it there, because I think one of the bands, and I can't remember if it was Stehalis or Stolo, was saying they had tons of dike projects down that end of the world that haven't even been looked at. And I think you'd get them on board at that end of the world would be a little bit more practical, but I can't see any positive in it. Nobody I've talked to just going, what are they thinking? Like, why putting it'll look like a pick apart. You know, when you drive by the pick apart sign?
Yeah.
Cause you'd see no lake, no mountains, no nothing, and no village, no jobs, no village council, no meetings, nothing. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
It's just, if there was a way that they could do it, that wouldn't look like a giant prison, which is what it'll look like.
They're trying not to, for that.
Yep, I have an access
Yeah.
port, big deal, it's a giant prison.
Well, and it's a wall there,
It's
like
a
I
wall.
looked,
Yeah.
It's
so,
a wall that cuts the view, which is the draw to the town.
There will be openings. I was disappointed that the openings are small.
Yeah.
I was hoping sort of for the opposite. So I think it's a work in progress. My understanding is that the consultant's working with us to try and mitigate all these concerns.
Yes.
And, I mean, there's a couple of things for me as a politician, but ultimately, we have to decide on this. We're given it $11 million to solve a potential problem that may happen, not in our lifetime at all. $11 million.
Well, we have lots of
$11
potential
million
problems that
11
will
houses.
happen.
It's just 11 houses right here that are wiped out. And I've had friends that were in Sumas Prairie that had to bulldoze their $1 million houses because of the flood. And it doesn't matter if the water's there for 3 weeks or 3 minutes, it ruins your house
Yeah.
forever, forever, forever.
You're
So-
also built on a marsh, so there's
No, I know
always
that.
going to be flooding, so you cannot mitigate that
Yeah.
100%.
well, it's a lake actually.
What I see,
Area.
what I see is we have a view, and that's what people here come for.
Come for.
If they come for hot springs, they're out of luck. If we had hot springs out here and you put up a wall, they'd still come. But if you block a view that they're all we have, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, we either sell a view and not put the dike, or we get some hot springs pools out there that people will come to. Because we need something. Our name is Harrison Hot Springs, and what do we have? There's no hot springs. I mean, it's insane. If I was the province, I would cut all funding for a resort, because we're not a resort town. What do we have? We have a view. That's it. It's insane if you ask me.
No, sorry.
Sorry, I'm getting
No,
off.
that's okay. There-
No, I
But
just
that's how
wanna,
people feel about it. They're going,
it makes no sense. Okay,
Yeah,
so
go
if I can
ahead,
just, I just wanna
Susan.
pull it back a
Yeah.
little bit here. So, first of all, I concur with that, and I feel sorry for council because my personal opinion is this goes through. Their legacy is the council that killed
Killed him.
tourism, right? But we're an environmental committee, so I'd like us to kind of maybe stick a little bit to that for a second. So just to give, so the dike upgrade current plan, zone 1 and 2, which is the wastewater treatment plant area, they're gonna raise
That makes
that
sense.
access road. Zone 3 and 4, which is the resort in Rendell Park, they're raising the dike using a naturalized earth fill technique, which is similar to what's there now, but higher. And then zone 4 and 5 is the commercial areas with the wall and the viewing windows. So that is what I'm understanding. Is that
Yeah, that's correct.
Correct, okay.
So we object to the.
So, so it is something. Okay, so I have some questions then, because I'm looking at the information and I'm pulled up just some of the things because I'm confused by the math. I get confused by the math of it. Because when I just did, like, just pulled up what was there and I'm going, okay, I just drew a line with a ruler of the highest points. So I don't know if you guys,
Yeah.
it's very tiny because I can't do a big one. But there is a consistent from 1894, they don't have, because that's a speculative height of the water level based on, was it fluvial discharge, whatever, where they
Yeah,
got
and
the,
there was a,
so it's a
There's a gauge
theoretical height that it was. So, but going by sort of the actual, and so then we have to go to the 1948 flood. So I'm just looking at the math and I'm just looking at the graph and it is like, that's the peaks. It's a downward trend. And even that was the peaks of it. But if you look at every other section of it, you're seeing a downward trend, not an upward trend. So I'm a little, maybe I just don't understand the math of it and the rationale.
You do
I
understand
think
it.
you do understand the math.
so do we have an answer to that? Like, do-
Modeling.
Probably
Yeah.
not.
I can
I
answer,
was,
We've only got Jason for a few more minutes. So.
yeah, I can answer
Okay.
the
That's a
best
good
of my
question.
ability. The engineer would have better, they've had some answers, to similar questions like this. But I guess the best way to answer it would be that it's basically the whole Fraser Basin has been looked at as a regional approach, and there's been many studies done and modeling done to figure out what is the height that's needed for flood protection, and then also they have a formula for like even future climate change. So the height that's been put here forward is not even including future climate change, because we basically said, well, like, we don't even want to go higher because we don't know, we don't want to go any higher than it's necessary. So it's built to the exact minimum. And if there was future climate change that would increase it, then it would actually have to be raised higher. But it's for now, it's just built to what the standard is across the whole Fraser system. So it's more just looking at that approach, and that's the standard that the Diking Authority is kind of pushing for, because the Diking Authority has to approve the design. So that's why the math is kind of built to that amount. So they are looking at this one. They're looking at this one specifically to create a formula that makes sense, but it's in relation to the entire system and what's been designed for the whole Fraser region area.
Do we know what is the work that's taken place in the rest of the Fraser region?
Yes, there's a regional strategy, and the company that's doing this, they've done reviews on the entire system as well.
But is there shovel in the ground?
Well, like
Is there any work
the,
actually being done anywhere?
so the, like, for instance, the Kent Dykes is built to the, 18, whatever year flood of record, so theirs is a lot higher than ours currently.
So they've done theirs, they've done their work.
They've done theirs, but theirs still doesn't include certain freeboards, so they've had some reports done like maybe 4 years ago recommending some upgrades, but even at their height level now, the first to overtop would be our side.
Right.
Yeah, so they've looked at it from the regional approach, it's not just ours.
Yeah, that's my, sort of my next question then, about basically the lowest dike level in the basin.
Is ours.
From our area,
And
yeah,
when did it breach last? Because you only need to build higher than the lowest point technically, right? Water always flows through the lowest points, right? It's just sort of basic. So I guess that was my question. So our level is the lowest dike level in the basin in this.
don't know if that's exact true, we don't have those numbers, but I know ours is lower than like Kent's and it's lower than what it needs to be, so as, you know, as we're looking for the next however many years in the future, all other places are looking to upgrade their dikes in the future and come up to a standard level of acceptance and protection. So, you know, maybe some of the other dikes might not be for 20 years that gets redone, but at that point, ours will be at the level it needs to be. So that's kind of how they're looking at it as like a long-term approach for the whole system.
So brings me to my other question then, okay, so the water level, flood of record, 14.1 meters, and we're going 15.1 meters. And the cynical side of me says, we're going to that level because that is the level, that brings it with the wall they want to build, that's the height of those pieces, that's what it will bring it up to. So we're going above and beyond sight lines and things. Is it because of that is the size of this wall that is pre-manufactured?
No, the wall can be designed to whatever height's needed. It's designed to that height for like the level in the whole entire system. And it's basically based off the flood record, plus they have allowance for freeboard. It's like the wave run up that comes to it. So it's, I'm no engineer in this technical field, but they do modeling and everything. And even with the height that's proposed, there's still a chance that overtopping could happen from waves. So they're really building it to the bare minimum of the standard.
Okay, but
They wanted us to go higher.
They want us to go
They wanted
higher.
it to be 15.9, if I remember correctly.
Yes, exactly. So we've been pushing back to say, let's do the exact minimum of protection, and we could still, like, even if there was wave run up and some minor flooding over top, it's still manageable.
Yeah.
But it won't flood the entire.
What I'd like to see as an environmentalist and politician is, will it be built better? So right now we have kind of a grassy area, like, will there be more trees? Will there be better walkway, a better promenade? Like, will it not only be higher, but better?
So we have a landscape architect who's on the project, Space to Place, and they do some of the best work in the region. And yeah, so the idea is, so we also have this wall that's currently there that's needs replacing at some point in the future. It's starting to fail. So this would be replacing that wall, coming up with a nice landscaped area, and there'd be sections of you know, viewable windows. And with the viewable windows too, like, I mean,
well, there's
like it'll be right on the wall side. So once you're up and over, then you have open sight lines. Because they had proposed it further back, but then that would block anything walking on the pathway from sight lines. So having it back, then you can see once you're up on the dike.
Yeah, I mean, the further back that wall is from the road or from parking is, it just will lower in your view, in your sight lines, right?
It would from.
Because if it's
the-
right up front and you're standing here, you don't see anything. Once you start moving it back, it actually lowers it in a way. It's not lowering it, but for your view, it lowers it. Because if it was out on the edge of the lagoon,
Mhm.
you wouldn't even notice it. You know what I'm saying? The further back it is from where everybody's gonna be standing, walking, sure, it'll be up, but it won't be the optical.
Yeah, it was looked at because there were 3 potential options, and the recommendation was it to be closer to the wall instead of further out, because closer to the wall, there would be an impact from views if you're walking on Esplanade. But the idea was, as you're walking through those sections, there's parking all in front, so it's not as much of a sightline impact as if it's further back when you're walking on the dike, then you're looking at the wall. This way, if you're up on top of the dike, the wall will be behind you on the
Yeah,
street.
I can see that, but yeah, definitely.
Two different ways to look
Yeah.
at it. It depends where you're walking from, because I would be walking from the Esplanade sidewalk, and the other one would be from on the dike.
Yeah.
Looking out, so. that
Yeah,
would be
your
two.
view is gonna be, you're gonna have to get up on top and be up there and
Which,
the
yeah,
businesses who are down low are just gonna be right out of luck unless you build a hotel with a restaurant on the second floor.
which, yeah, because like the new building, like the building standard is up above the flood height level, so a lot of those buildings were built before
Yeah.
the standard was set, so.
Okay, so did you say space to place?
These two places.
Okay, yeah,
the
I
two.
did look them up a little bit, because because when I was looking through the information, some of their diagrams were disturbing to me, because one of them featured the people going the opposite way down, like I'm a stickler for these little details that I noticed that drive me nuts. So one of the shots of the redesign, the traffic was going the wrong way. So I'm like, okay, I have confidence in the design process, and the perspectives of what it would look like were distorted for people to look at. They go, oh, that's not too bad, but it's a tight space down there, as you know, having a business down there. It's a tight space, so with the wall and everything and how it's going to look, it's gonna be interesting, but I'm here just to look at the environmental things, not the psychological and business perspectives of it. So, so then my next question I had was about this section of it, the probability math, because probability math is always a very tricky thing, and it looks interesting here, but probability math, right? The longer the probability, or the time frame, the higher the probability, for sure, right? So sometimes it can be a little deceiving when you're using probability math to show failure rates and things, because the longer the timeline, like the probability of a meteor, like to bring it silly, of a meteor hitting the lake,
Statistical
right?
manipulation.
Sometimes that bothers me when I see that kind of stuff with stuff that really is important for the sustainability of the village, but that's just sort of my 2 cents about it. And it sounds like the project is going through regardless, so I just wanted to at least have us have a chance to sort of touch on some of the feedback. I see some things that make me a
Could you
little
could you
nervous,
put
but.
those, could you write them down and we can include those questions as part of. 'cause
Well, I don't
you're
think-
dealing with the consultant every day, so.
Yeah, but I don't think it's something that really needs question, it's just kind of observation, right? It's not really questioning the things, and it's not really going to have any consequence of anything going forward.
What I see,
Actually, just let.
I would just prefer, like, honestly, my personal preference with, when you were saying about where water is going to come from, is like a tiger dam idea that can be implemented anywhere, and I know the constraints of that are money.
Get executed online for that? Oh my God.
Our money, the cost of
Executed
it,
for
and
suggesting.
the implementation of the time frame needed to put them up, right, is what my understanding are the biggest problems. But the ability to have some sort of flood control system that can be used wherever there is a crisis in the village, just to me seems like a smarter idea in theory, but.
Do you have an update on the Tiger Dam? Because apparently we have one.
We have one, yeah. My conversations with consultants was that they're not really they're not the appropriate measure for here. Like they kind of work, but not really, and they're time consuming to put up, and it's not it's not to like the standard that Dayton Authority is looking to see, but we do have one currently. Yeah, it's in our,
Is it an operational condition?
I don't know. It's, yeah,
The rats could have gotten to it.
it's hard to say,
Could be
yeah.
Swiss cheese.
Yeah, I think they were
Yeah,
saying they
figured it
didn't know the condition of it. I had asked sort of at the last information session about that. And got some interesting
Yeah.
feedback, but yeah, I understand we do have some, but we don't know sort of the condition or anything, and
Susan, if you've got questions or specific questions, I think you should fire them to Jace or share them with the committee, because he's talking to the consultant every day. And they are working on a report, because 200 people showed up at the open house.
We do
A lot of
questions,
people.
questions.
And
and
there's,
answers.
everybody had questions, so that consultant has to report back to us. So if you have more you want to include.
well, I would
any of
just
you,
like to know, be able to, like, can we access the source? Because this is just highlights. I'd like to actually be able to source the report, the real math of it, and to find out more. But that again, it's more just for my, like I said,
You're trying to make.
Where
it
did
make
they
sense.
find their data?
I'm trying to make it make sense for our village. I understand from a removed point of view, these things make sense. You copy these ideas from
Standard
this
height.
place, you copy it from that place and everything. But we need something that can really be successful here. If that's what we need to do, we need to have a plan that is going to be really successful. And I don't mean just environmentally, I mean from economics, from all of that. I have concerns that this meets some check boxes from over here that in practice may not work.
Will cause more
here.
problems than they solve.
So that's my concern, but I'm not an expert at it. I'm just seeing what I see and saying what saying what's rolling around in there.
Okay, so.
No, it's all good.
Susan, are you done? Gary, you have more to say?
Well,
Sir.
mine was more about, I was just looking at it and it's probably more of a safety concern than anything. Like they're showing this new sidewalk against and then the parking. And I said, well, where is this coming from? They're gonna have to dig into the existing wall to create that sidewalk to allow parking on the other side of the street unless they're getting rid of that. And then I'm going, well, if they're putting in a sidewalk, what's the sidewalk? Oh, to keep people from walking down the street when they unload their cars. Well, I'm looking at the angles of the parking and I'm going, well, it ain't gonna work, because what it is you're either gonna have to widen these spots to allow people to still unload their car. That's why they walk down the street, is because this parking is too tight. They can't get anything up between the cars. So they walk down the street and then go in. I said, if you put in a park or a sidewalk, you're gonna have people back in anyways, unless you widen these spots. I said, because then they offload onto the sidewalk and then they're not walking down the street. So you either gotta change the whole angle of that parking from going, what would it be,
Yeah.
east to backing into the west.
Yeah, no,
99% of people can't drive backwards.
But it's so much safer. You back in and then you're driving out, you can see where you're going, you're not gonna run over anybody. It's much easier.
yeah, no, that's good feedback. That, like, the sidewalk concept is just as part of some of the design features they identify the potential problem of safety, but it's something that would have to get addressed in detailed design if it went that route. So it could be feasible, could not be, but it was more of a conceptual idea. Yeah, it's good information now.
Some of these things are gonna be in the report. I assume in the next month or two, we're gonna see the consultant's report
Yeah.
back to council.
Yeah,
We'll
with all
be able
the
to share it
public
with you guys. I hope, I'm sure it'll be in public. It'll definitely be in public. So, we gotta remember that Stolo tradition is that they did not ever have communities here, because it was a marsh. Somebody already said it was a marsh, and every few generations it got wiped out by a big flood. And apparently one of the floods makes 1893 look like a joke. Like, I mean, it was the whole region was flooded.
Apparently.
100, 300 years ago. I don't know. This is oral tradition, right, from the Stehelas. So it's gonna happen. I wanna do it, it has to look good. It has to be sustainable from a tourist
Well,
point of view.
If
view
it's
point of
culture
view.
tourism, it's not sustainable. It might meet all of the ticky boxes from the diking authority, who has a one size fits all. Because you understand that they wanna have their guy go out and inspect and say, yep, it measures up, it measures up. But in reality, in this particular situation, it is antithetical to being sustainable because there won't be a community, there won't be any businesses. They'll eventually die off because there'll be no reason to come.
Yeah, so, yeah, it really just comes down to, I think, like the probability and what kind of risk the village wants to take on, and obviously the impacts of doing it, impacts of what would happen in the community if a flood did come through and affect everything. So yeah, it really comes down to communities.
Yeah, willingness.
Willingness and
Will.
probability, yeah. So either way you go, there can be impacts. If a flood comes and damages, the impact to tourism and views, so it's just trying to balance that, the amount of risk and probability. But anyways, I have to run to.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, don't rush, drive safe while driving, get some sleep.
That baby keeping you up at night.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't wanna necessarily leave the dike upgrades if there's other comments or
No,
questions.
I
or-
do.
I don't have a problem with the side pieces being elevated to protect like the infrastructure of the poop factory. And the other one, it's the moneymaker. The poop factory, that's what it is.
Sure, believe me, I don't like it at all either, but it might be
It
a
makes
necessary
no
thing that we gotta do.
sense.
If we didn't have to do this, I wouldn't wanna do this as a forward business.
How
owner.
long is
Like,
the dike
literally
authority
Standing
been
in the chocolate store, Richard and I would, yeah, we're gonna lose the lake. This is BS, I don't like it, Richard doesn't like.
How
no one
long
likes
has the
it.
dike
No, I
authority
stood
been
there and I
around?
looked and I saw,
Yeah,
and I looked at it, went,
stand in front of the
"Oh
chocolate
my
store,
God."
it's like, oh, so they promised us a 30-meter opening in front of the chocolate store, so that's good. But still just a little opening. But if we do it right, if we beautify the upper part, get more access to the upper part, maybe get some more openings and wider openings, and I maybe.
Well, you're gonna get that dike rebuilt, the front of it, which is falling apart, which is.
That wall is falling apart.
Didn't it used to have flowers in it? Flowers?
Probably.
I remember when I was a kid, that rock wall was full of
It's been
flowers.
cemented in.
It's all been cemented in.
So it could look better. I don't wanna think
We're
about
gonna
it doing this
definitely,
day
if they go ahead, it's gonna have to look.
Can I speak for a second?
I didn't-
Yeah, I wanted to say something, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that there's other solutions. I mean, what I read and trying to figure out, listening to you all, there's other solutions. And I think some of the diking thing comes from understanding the Fraser River and not the Harrison Lake, I'm concerned. I know the Fraser River well, and they're thinking it would flood again. I don't think it can because I spent a lot of time on it and there's a lot of training walls, etc. And I'm concerned that they're taking the same theory and applying it to Harrison Lake. And, we're talking about water
One
level.
size fits all.
Yeah,
Why
'cause those
couldn't the
things
Fraser
don't-
flood though? Paul, what would preclude the Fraser from having a big freshet again? Like they did 100 years ago and 50 years ago?
Amazing.
Because there's lots of diking and everything else, and there's not the flatlands along the side of the river. Everything's built up all the way along. The sandbars aren't there the way they used to be. The river flows much faster, I think, in places than it used to. So the water will move back out into the Gulf of Georgia or Salish Sea much faster than it did in 1948.
But haven't the modern dikes had the opposite effect? Haven't they hemmed in the river so that it's just a smaller system? Like it's more constrained. It can rise faster.
Maybe, but like I say, I spent a lot of time as a commercial fisherman on the Fraser, and I was third generation, and I've heard the stories from up and down the river that it's changed dramatically.
Wasn't it just last year we had the big concern that we're all gonna be flooded out because of the log jam and the rock slide up the road? And nature just did its thing and it oozed its way out and no harm was done. And everything just flowed out to the ocean as it should. with a little patience.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Okay, well,
Alright.
we can come back to the dike upgrade, you guys. So we can table this. I think there's
We
still
can
more
keep-
information to come. So let's keep the discussion going. And Paul, anything else at all on the
No, I
dike
think-
upgrade?
I think they need to come up with better solutions and maybe, they gotta soften the approach on this and make it so it's, works with what the community can accept and not what's been presented.
Yeah,
The one size fits all doesn't work for here.
I think the open house raised a lot of questions and concerns, and I'm looking forward to seeing the next report. And we'll be able to report back to this
We'll be
group.
pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, maybe they'll do some design changes that is more palatable to everybody. I don't know. So, guys, we've done Gs. We've got our next time that we're gonna meet. Paul, are you in town? Okay, and then dike upgrade. Can we put dike upgrade on the next meeting or
Sure.
for future
Wanna come back to
meetings?
it?
It
Okay,
doesn't matter.
Bear
guys
Smart,
want-
Yes,
we didn't
keep
really.
that on there.
Okay, let's keep that on there, Amanda, if you don't mind. And Bear Smart, we never really did finish Bear Smart.
Oh, no, we didn't.
No, so did want, just circle back, we've done item D, Earth Day in May. Bear Smart, is there any comments, any ideas to make this easier for the community to accept, or communications or anything? Or do you all endorse this?
So
How do you all feel?
should we have at our environmental day have
Yeah,
A
why don't we hand
Bear
out Bear Smart flyers at Earth Day?
So-
We
Something-
definitely can. We have some here, so.
Good idea.
Yeah. Kill two
Might need
bears with
might
one
need a couple
stone.
hundred pamphlets. Certain,
what about
get some printed off.
our garbage cans are not Bear Smart garbage cans. Is there any move for the village to move to a more, I know in Port Coquitlam, we had these stupid contraptions that they had on the cans and never worked. They were hard to get on and off, and then they went to these other things and it was a nuisance, but some of them worked and some of them didn't. Is there any move towards getting Bear Smart cans for Harrison?
I'm sorry, I can't answer that. That would be either Christie or Jace.
Okay.
to answer that.
Have we had, do you know of instances that we've had in the village with the bears getting
Yeah.
into the
Yeah,
garbage? Is that
near the end of
happened?
the last year, there was a bit,
Yeah.
a few, I think.
With that one guy that was roaming around?
Yeah, I think
There
it
was
was
one near the end of
coming off
last
of
year,
Chestnut
yeah.
or somewhere over there.
So. That's a big expenditure for one or two bears
Yeah.
knocking over garbage
Yeah,
cans.
but it-
Raccoons, however.
But the thing, what happens though, is once a bear knows, I can come on garbage day and get into garbage cans, then it just, then if offspring, teach your offspring, next thing you know, we're killing them, right?
Mhm.
And what I would like to see done when somebody sees a bear, get out there, bang a pot, blow a horn, scare it the hell out of town.
Noise bylaw, no horns.
You wanna say, no, we don't want you walking through our yards, we don't want you eating off our apple trees. We don't wanna sit there and go, oh, you're so cute. No, cute in the bush, then you don't get killed. Once you start coming into town, things happen,
Yeah.
and then next thing you know, somebody's shooting. And we don't want you being shot, go into the bush.
I think that we're kind of hopeful that by, hoping that people by not putting their garbage out the night before to really mitigate that, because it's very much shorter window.
Oh, yeah.
And like you say, it's an expense, right, to outfit everybody with those, because I think.
Well, we have to pay for
It's
them.
quite the,
We have
and
to
that might
buy
be the case, yeah.
And GFL does have right on their calendar times and don't,
So that's
don't do
out
this
by
and don't do
7.
that.
It's more about, for GFL, it's more about making sure it's out
On
in time
time.
to get picked up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Still,
exactly.
but that's the thing that everybody puts on their
Yep.
deep freezer, their fridge, and that's the thing they read.
Oh, mine on my
and that's
fridge, yeah.
what they follow.
Yeah.
So I think that handing out something is a good thing, because still many people have difficulty reading websites or just don't like to or you forget, but if you got something on your fridge, hey, is it garbage day or is it recycle day? Oh, it's garbage day, and then you've got the, don't put it
Yeah,
out before
before
7,
5, yeah.
or
I
whatever.
think that'd be great. I think it's a good initiative.
It's
I
an
think it's
extra
just a start.
reminder, but we don't wanna
Yeah.
be punitive about it unless you get one guy who's a total turd and then
And
you
that's really
bylaws
what
go
it
and
is,
talk.
yeah, it's really so that if it becomes a problem, we have some ability to enforce it, it's not, you know, you don't wanna be out
Yeah,
there
we don't.
ticketing left, right, and center and, you know,
Have you got-
4:59 AM.
But we could buy some seedlings if we find a few.
Right?
Or we'll take it from the hotel tax,
Yeah.
cause that's free money.
Yeah, I think it's just a start, like putting, you know, Mayor Talon made this point during the debate. A lot of people just put their garbage cans at the side of their house all week long and fill it
Yep.
all week long.
Yep.
So what's the difference of it there or at the end of the curb?
I'm more
And I
pissed
agree
off
with
with
what he's
GFL
saying.
taking your garbage
Reality
can and
is,
leaving it in the middle of the road.
Garbage should be secured, you know, in a secure area, in your garage or your shed or whatever, secured.
No,
And
we
so
got
put
a,
out the
we
night
got a
before.
little bungee cord
And-
thing from
yeah,
Amazon that
I
you
mean,
just put on your regular, any kind of garbage can and it snaps up, but GFL will not unsnap it. You have
They
to
won't
unsnap it.
Right,
in the
you have to
morning.
unsnap it at 7 AM.
Definitely keeps the
So-
raccoonians
Yeah.
out, which we have
Yeah.
problems with.
So you have to keep your garbage secured, and I think the next step is, okay, we gotta deal with compost piles and stuff like that. And again, it's not just for bears, it's rats and possums and all that stuff too, so. Anyways, we'll see how this goes, but if the committee wants to discuss it further.
On a
we
kind
can
of
do
a
that.
garbagey issue, but not a garbagey issue, maybe we can put it up for next time. I'm thinking of compost and I'm thinking of trees and I'm thinking of pruning. And I'm thinking of those bins that we're putting out for people for yard stuff. On safety, worried about bears, how about all of the people who have the 8,000 cans of this much paint in their houses and their garages and their sheds? They're a fire hazard. Because they're too lazy to take it down to there, maybe we can collect the combustibles, have the fire department set up a combustible collection for.
It's a good idea, do a hazardous
A
waste day
hazardous waste
Yeah.
day.
Hazardous waste day.
or
I
drop.
know it's totally off kind of, but
Yeah,
that's where
yeah,
my
yeah.
brain goes, because everybody and their dog has their shed full of this much paint and this much stuff. And it's dangerous when you
Release.
pile it all together and then it gets hot and
Recycling will not take,
will not take any
Leftover.
of that.
will,
Mm-mm.
if it has like a fire signal
Yeah.
or a sign or
Can't. And you wouldn't want. them to
poison, they don't take it, but that has to go to a special
Certain
place,
facilities.
yeah,
It
'cause
was
they.
just a, it was
yeah.
just a thing that flowed in my twisted brain
Yeah, no,
line of,
That's,
No, it's-
that's a
line
good
of thing, but
idea.
Good.
yeah. It would help with the fire, it would help with just
Okay.
safety, it would help
Get,
people to actually do it, they'd be more inclined to do the next thing and the next thing if they felt supported by the
There's
community
a
to make
cost
it
to
easier. Yes, there's a cost to that.
and,
Okay, do you guys wanna make a motion to direct staff to look into a hazardous waste pickup
Yes, please,
day?
yes,
if we could
Maybe
do
we all
something
bring it
like
to the
that.
works yard and there's a
Making a
pile
motion.
there and it's all.
Making a motion
collectively, okay, go ahead. What do you-
through the chair to the.
So I'll move
to the
to,
board.
I'll move to direct staff. I mean, you
Look
okay with this?
into-
Feel free to wordsmith it the way you want. We'll move, the environmental committee moves to direct staff or to ask staff
Council
to investigate having a hazardous waste
waste collection day.
collection day with a centralized depot for the village to
Yes.
use. So
And
that
then
that can
somebody
be
will
brought
have to
to,
dispose of that, that's why I thought of the
Yeah.
fire department, right?
well, and that way we'll
Well,
encourage,
Could be done by donation too.
yeah, they'll get a free seedling.
So sorry, what the motion is, that
Oh.
council directs staff to investigate having a hazardous waste collection day with a centralized depot for residents to deposit waste such as leftover paint.
Yeah.
Paint solvents.
Anything,
Hazardous solvents.
anything that's
Yeah,
fire
Because
hazard,
we all have it.
yeah, that can't go in recycle or garbage.
We don't wanna dump it in the river. A lot of people
No,
just dump it.
but
there.
then what we do is we have stacks and stacks and stacks of partial cans of paint and paint thinner and spray cans. And we put them all in our in the cupboard.
Yeah.
And then we look at it and go, oh, I really should get,
Like we have the green bins
But if
over
that's-
there for the month of April, maybe the month of May, we do.
hazard.
Well, just even a one day thing, like
Even
hazardous
just one
waste,
day,
bring your
Bring
Oh,
it.
that's a lot.
stuff down.
Fire
Sorry,
department,
is that
donation
by you?
Sure.
Yeah, that's a good
There's
idea.
definitely
By
a cost to get
donation,
rid of
you
that
bring your
toxic
stuff and
waste.
then
Like they want
It's,
another
it's
job.
not
For
just
sure.
taking your
You gotta
paint,
drive.
it's not just taking your paint to, no, it has to go to a special recycling.
Yeah, that's what you're like.
You can do it cleanup.
So you gotta all
Spring
drive.
safety.
So let's,
Or
guys, let's
smart
just
fire smart
get
in
back
your
on this
yard.
motion. Do you wanna read it back to us?
Yeah, so, moved by Council Schweinfurt, seconded by, Sherry Norris, that council directs staff to investigate having a hazardous waste collection day with a centralized depot for residents to deposit waste such as paint solvents or hazardous materials that cannot be disposed of through normal waste collection or recycling.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
Perfect.
I think we should spend past a day. I think that's,
Well,
don't forget.
try a day and see how it goes.
Okay. I think we would need a week for this community. Don't forget.
Well, that's why.
I don't know, those
I
garbage bins filled up in the yard waste bins filled up in a day on.
Well, that's
on-
because
But
people were
if people know
cheating.
it's coming, you go, "Oh, okay.
I think what you need to do is have, some type of bins brought in, because you couldn't just have people.
That's why I thought
Stuff
maybe
all
having the
over.
fire
walk-in
department
bins,
involved would be a good
Definitely
idea.
have.
I think it'll, this motion will give, probably Christie the leeway to look into how best to do that, whether that's bringing a bin in or having a truck come in that takes it away to wherever it needs to
You'd
go.
have to contact the company who
Yeah.
who
Who
recycles,
does it?
and
Exactly.
they would bring their bids in and tell you how to do it.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. that's
Guys,
a
it's,
good idea.
yeah, it's,
And if it's
We've been an hour and a
successful, then you do it
Is
twice
there-
a year.
Mm-hmm.
Spring
I
and fall
think that-
cleanups.
so is there anything else we'd like to discuss today? Before we adjourn?
No.
Did everybody get out of this meeting what they wanted?
Yes,
Yeah?
My current one yet?
Yeah,
I'm gonna go.
well, they stopped. The funnel's gone.
water's gonna suck it right up.
So I'm going to move to adjourn.
There you go.
Is everybody else good?
And this is.
Move to adjourn, seconder, all in favor? Thank
I-
you.
Are you
I think
okay?
Susan
Hey,
seconded.
Paul.
Oh, hey, Paul. Oh, anything else?
We're leaving, Paul.
Good, I'm good.
Back to the golf course, eh?
Yeah,
When are you back in town?
22nd,
Oh, so we'll see you in person next time.
yes.
Okay, very good. Well, we look forward to seeing you. Okay, so we've adjourned. Good, thank you guys. So I'm serious about this walk, but it's the next 3 weeks, the 4 of us or whatever, 5 of us.
Yeah.
whatever. Go for a walk.
Pick a day.
Go for the done that.
So I'll follow up with Jason, see if we can get some like handheld maps.